This is the Nissan Patrol Warrior. It's a Patrol, but it's on steroids. It's bigger, wider, taller and heavier than the standard TI Patrol on which it's based, but it also has Aussie-tuned suspension, a Warrior-specific wheel and tyre package, underbody protection, and a whole bunch of other stuff intended to make the standard TI Patrol turn into this, the Warrior Patrol. But there are no changes to power and torque figures because it retains the V8 engine from the rest of the Patrol lineup. So is it a good four-wheel drive, and is it better than a standard Patrol? Well, that's what we're here to find out, so stick around. The Nissan Patrol Warrior has a price tag of $101,160, but that's excluding on-road costs. The big news with this vehicle is the fact that Australian vehicle engineering company Premcar has done more than an estimated $16,000 worth of work to this vehicle, and that includes engineering upgrades, critical conversion work, and the fitment of adventure-ready accessories. Standard features include this 8-inch multimedia touchscreen system, and that's far too small for my liking, and it doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which in this day and age is pretty much unforgivable. But what the Patrol Warrior does have is front and rear parking sensors, a 360-degree camera system, and a tyre pressure monitoring system. Exterior paint choices include the no extra cost gunmetal grey or your premium paint, which is black, white or silver. The Warrior also has a re-engineered version of the hydraulic body motion control system. I'll talk about that more later. It also has 50mm total suspension lift, new springs front and rear, and a wider wheel track. It also has a GVM increase of 120 kilograms. For even more details, make sure you read my full written review at the CarsGuide website. That's carsguide.com.au. One of the most striking things about the Warrior when you first see it is just how big it seems. It's a bit of a mission for a hobbit like me to climb into because it's about 50mm extra off the deck than the TI has in terms of ground clearance, and it is just bigger. It's longer, wider, taller. It's got a wider wheel track than the standard Patrol, and it just has an imposing presence. But if you get down in the dirt and have a good look, there are some even more impressive things. The underbody protection is substantial stuff. It's really there to cop a beating, and it's also quite striking to the eye in that red. Beyond that, Nissan and Premcar have ditched all the chrome, all the shiny stuff, and it looks all the better for it. And it has those big, chunky Yokohama tyres, and everything seems to tie in pretty well with an aggressive off-road look. And while the Warrior does seem, on paper and also to the eye, to be a more aggressively off-road capable vehicle than a standard Patrol, there's one major thing that's causing me concern, and that is the bimodal exhaust pipes. They're underneath the side steps on the right-hand side of the vehicle, and those to me seem like they may be vulnerable in terms of, as you're traversing extreme terrain, they may be exposed to potential damage. The Warrior cabin is essentially a TI spec Patrol's cabin, and that's a good thing because it's roomy and comfortable. But what Premcar has done is they've done the right thing again. They've ripped out the wood grain and the chrome, and they've replaced it with classier soft touch materials, and it's all the better for it. All three rows are reasonably comfortable, obviously up front, and the second row really nice. Third row for the people in your family that you don't really like, i.e. the kids. What is a bit of a problem though is this center console. I don't mind the look of it, but the functionality is on the wrong side of not good. It's hard to get your head around. That screen is too small, and just the operation of it is all over the place, and it needs to be better, especially in this day and age. Also worth noting is the fact that Premcar has modified the tow bar setup, so it's now a bigger space and it accommodates that new, bigger, full-size spare tyre, and that's a good thing. What's also another good thing is the fact that there are rated recovery points. The Warrior has the same 5.6 litre V8 petrol engine as in the rest of the Patrol lineup, and that produces 298 kilowatts and 560 newton meters, and it's matched to a 7-speed automatic transmission. This combination yields a relaxed, undemanding driving experience rather than a dynamic and lively one, and you know what, at my age, that's perfect. On road and on dirt tracks, the Patrol Warrior is just a little bit more tighter, more controlled, more composed than its standard stablemate. And that's all largely due to its upgraded suspension and its hydraulic body motion control system, which just keeps everything on board that much tighter and controlled. And that's basically a sway bar disconnect equivalent, that kind of thing. Just to rein everything in when you're on road, when you're on bitumen, and to loosen everything up when you're off road, when you're on dirt. If you have the chance to get into a Patrol Warrior, make sure you appreciate that bimodal exhaust at the back, nice and quiet, but it opens up if you flip it to manual on the auto shifter, or if you just give it a heavy right boot. You hear the engine note, it's unreal. Out the side there are two pipes out the right hand side underneath the side step, and on the open road or on quiet backcountry roads you really get a chance to appreciate how comfortable and how refined the Patrol Warrior is. The Patrol as standard is a good four-wheel drive, and all the Premcar work, all the conversion work, the upgrades that it has done to create the Warrior have only made it all that much better. There's more ground clearance in the Warrior, so your approach and departure angles are an improvement over the standard Patrol. The tyres are grippier and bigger, so they do provide you plenty of traction where otherwise you may not be able to get it. The off-road traction control system as standard is pretty good. It just doesn't feel calibrated quite that well enough. Nissan's hydraulic body motion control system has been tweaked to go on board the Warrior, and it's a good system as standard, but it's even better in here. It tightens everything up when it needs to, when you're on road and you want that control, you want that composure, but it loosens up when you are off-road, just to give you that tiny bit more articulation, that little bit more wheel travel from this all fully independent suspension. And in the Warrior, the springs all round have been specifically designed for this vehicle, and at the front they are longer and softer, and at the back they offer various rates, soft, firm and extra soft. And while that's not a big deal when you're low range four-wheel driving, that really comes into play at speed when you're on a dirt track and there are light to moderate to extreme corrugations and you're really trying to fly over and get through that stuff without rattling your spine. And while there are no power and torque changes, because this has the V8 from the Patrol range in general, all the other Premcar mods, including that suspension package, including the extra ground clearance and all those little things, improved approach and departure angles, just make it that much better off-road and that much more comfortably capable. And all of this work done by Premcar, the conversions, the modifications, the engineering upgrades and the fitment of accessories, it's all the kind of stuff that a sensible, experienced four-wheel driver would have done to their Patrol if there wasn't the option to climb into something like the Patrol Warrior straight out of the showroom. The Premcar work is just simply that clever. But while all of these changes that have made the Warrior what it is are so clever and are so welcome, it doesn't make the Patrol Warrior a perfect four-wheel drive. For one thing, it still is a big vehicle, and you have to drive it with that in mind all the time. It really does fill the track, and with that wider wheel track, you really have to be mindful all the time of wheel placement. And its off-road traction control just doesn't feel quite so dialed in, quite so sharply tuned as the off-road traction control systems in something like the 300 series. It's not atrocious, not by a long shot, it's very, very effective, but it just doesn't feel as dialed in as other systems. And the bimodal exhaust is awesome, believe me, but those little exhaust caps that stick out underneath the right-hand side step, they're just a little bit too vulnerable to potential damage for my liking. They just stick out a little bit too much, and they eat into your ramp over angle, so you really have to drive with careful consideration, especially if you're going to tip over to that right hand side a tiny bit, even by increments. You are in danger of grinding those against rock or dirt or a tree stump or something like that. And beyond all those Premcar changes, which are very impressive, at its heart the Patrol has all the solid, reliable four-wheel drive mechanicals. It has plenty of torque over a wide rev range, and it has a rear diff lock, so you are pretty much covered for anything you want to tackle. And I have to mention it because the Patrol is a well-respected towing platform. That its towing capacities are 750 kilograms unbraked and 3,500 kilograms braked, and its GVM in the Warrior is actually 120 kilograms more than the TI Patrol. Yeah, you have to give credit to Nissan and Premcar because they really have turned what is already a good four-wheel drive wagon into a real fun one and a real capable one, even more so than in its standard form. Fuel consumption for the Nissan Patrol Warrior is listed as 14.4 litres per 100 kilometres, and that's on a combined cycle. On this test, I recorded 23.2 litres per 100 kilometres, which is nowhere near that official figure, but in the Patrol Warrior's defence, it is about 70 kilograms heavier than the standard Patrol TI, and we were doing some very tough, hardcore four-wheel driving. But going by my fuel consumption figures, you could expect a reasonable driving range of about just over 600 kilometres, but again, that was purely low-range four-wheel driving. The Nissan Patrol Warrior does not have an ANCAP safety rating because it has not been tested. Driver assist technology includes AEB, lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control and more. The Warrior is covered by Nissan's 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty that applies to the entire Patrol lineup. But the great thing about this is all of Premcar's work on the Warrior is also covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, so you have that peace of mind. Cap price servicing applies and service intervals are scheduled for every 12 months or 10,000 kilometres, whichever comes soonest. Nissan and Premcar have turned a damn good four-wheel drive into an even better one, but the Patrol Warrior isn't perfect, not by anyone's means, but it is very impressive. It's a nice car to drive on-road and it's a lot of fun, and it is still very capable off-road, and the improvements have only made it even better. And another great thing about the Patrol Warrior is the fact that all of Premcar's work, all of that conversion work, engineering upgrades and fitment of accessories, it's all covered by a factory-backed warranty, and that's worth its weight in gold just by itself. So all in all, if Nissan and Premcar's goal was to make an adventure-ready four-wheel drive beast even better than the stock standard Patrol, then the Warrior is a pretty good result. But what do you reckon? Have your say in the comments section below. And if you want even more details on this vehicle, make sure you read my full written review at carsguide.com.au.